Hey friends, how are you? Welcome to Saral Japani YouTube channel. Friends, recently there has been a lot of confusion I saw amongst JLPT seekers, and they told me that JLPT levels are going to be changed and the JLPT levels from N5 to N1 will be replaced by the CEFR levels. So how much true is that? And there were several queries surrounding this aspect, this topic. So I thought of preparing this video to clarify the doubts and clarify any misunderstandings. So the big news is that yes, on the JLPT report card from December 2025 onwards, you will see CEFR equivalent levels. But that doesn't mean that there is any change in the JLPT levels from N5 to N1. Those remains the same, and additionally CEFR levels gets added. So in this video I'm going to explain in detail what does that mean and how the mapping has been done, and what additional information you can get from this additional marking on the scorecard. So JLPT levels N5 to N1 mapping with CEFR levels from December 2025 JLPT. So what is CEFR? Those who don't know, CEFR is basically a framework. The full form is Common European Framework of Research for, Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, CEFR. Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, Learning, Teaching, Assessment. So it started in 2001, that means 25 years ago. It was initiated by the Council of Europe as the reference framework intended for common use in learning, teaching, and assessment for languages in Europe. That means this is a framework, or you can say this is a standardization for the assessment of language proficiency. And it was initially in Europe for all the European languages like English, Spanish, French, and other languages. And it became so popular that it got extended outside Europe, and many countries started adopting this framework for the assessment levels, to determine the assessment levels or to determine the proficiency levels of their respective native languages. And in this run, now Japan has also decided to include CEFR for JLPT. That means the Japanese language proficiency will also be marked on the CEFR scale. So this screen, the text that you are seeing on this screen has been taken from the official JLPT website, and which reads the in the CEFR, foreign language proficiency is divided into 6 levels: A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, and C2, C2 being the highest level. So we will look at the requirements of all these 6 levels, and then we will see the mapping with those of the 5 JLPT levels. The foreign language proficiency of a person at each level is indicated by the illustrative descriptions formatted as can do. So as you see here, the CEFR has been translated into as many as 40 languages and is now widely used as an international framework able to show foreign language proficiency on a common basis across languages and borders. For the Japanese language, the Japanese Agency for Cultural Affairs has released this report, and the Japan Foundation has developed the JF standard for Japanese language education as the frameworks for learning, teaching, and assessment for the Japanese language, both based on the CEFR. So these are the 6 levels. So we know JLPT N5, N4, N3, N2, N1. So where JLPT N5 and N4 belongs to the beginners level, N3 is the intermediate level, and N2 and N1 are the expert level Japanese. So this is how we understand the JLPT levels. Now these 6 levels, A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, these are the levels in the framework of CEFR. So where A1 and A2 corresponds to basic user, that is the basic user of the language, then B1 and B2 is the independent user, and then C1 and C2 are considered to be proficient user. That means a person, if he has the proficiency of C2 level, then he is the highest proficient in that language. So you can see there is a lot of information and text, so I will not be reading those out. It will become extremely boring, but you can, if you want, you can pause the video here and these read these the requirements. These are the criteria to have these respective CEFR levels. So I will just read out one out of this. So the A1, which is the very basic one, you can see, can understand and use familiar everyday expressions and very basic phrases aimed at the satisfaction of needs of a concrete type, can introduce him or herself and others, and can ask and answer questions about personal details such as where he or she lives, people he she knows, and things he or she has, can interact in a simple way provided the other person talks slowly and clearly and is prepared to help. So this is exactly what is needed in JLPT N5. So A1 corresponds to N5. So we will see, we will look at the exact mapping of these 6 levels with the 5 levels of Japanese proficiency. So let's move on to the next slide. So here you go. This is the mapping of JLPT. As you can see, let me activate the pointer. So on the x-axis, you will see the JLPT levels N5, N4, N3, N2, N1. And in the vertical or the y-axis, you can see the scores of JLPT, because JLPT has 0 to 180 total score. So for each of the 5 levels, the maximum marks is 180 in the JLPT. So that's why this is the JLPT score, total score. And then these graphs indicate these CEFR levels from A1, A2, B1, B2, and up to C1. So why C2 is not there, I will explain. So that is another interesting thing. So that I will explain once I have done with this slides information. So let's begin with N5. So here is N5. So the marks is 0 to 180, and the overall pass mark. So it's not categorized into reading, listening, right, and vocabulary, and all those things are not there. The CEFR rating will be given on the JLPT score sheet on the basis of the total marks received. So overall marks they have mentioned here. So overall marks 80 is the passing score in JLPT N5. So that means if you have not scored 80, then you have failed in the JLPT N5, and CEFR will not be indicated on your mark sheet. So CEFR rating will be given only if you pass the test, and you will get an A1 on the CEFR scale for JLPT N5 if you score above 80, any number above 80. Then in N4, if you score above 90, then you will get an A2 certification. Now, what happens if you score below 90? So, if you score below 90, that doesn't mean that you have scored A1 because you are already N5. So, and even if you are not N5, because there are many people who do not appear in N5 and directly go for N4. So that does not mean that if you get 80 in N4, then from 80 to 90, you will be given A1. And if you score above 90, then you will be given A2. No, that is not going to happen. If you score below 90, then no CEFR will be provided on your mark sheet. So if you are appearing for N1, you have to directly score 90 or above to get A2. There is no A1 for N4. Next is N3. So N3 is little different. So here the pass mark is 95. If you score any number between 95 and 104, 103 in fact, if you score between 95 and 103, then you get an A2. So this is now overlapping with the N4. So any score between N95 and 103 is A2, and from 104 onwards up to 180 it is B1. So that means A2 has A2 is present in both N4 and N3. So only doing N3, only passing N3 is not enough to bag you a B1, but you have to score more than 103. That means 104 or above you have to score to get a B1. Then comes N2. Again, 90 is the minimum score that you should have to get a CEFR. Now in N3 it was 95, but again in N2 it has been lowered, it has been reduced to 90, so that's a good thing. So if you score uh, above 90 until 111, you get a B1. And if you score below 90, then CEFR not indicated. So you will not get an A2. You will not get an A2 if you score below 90, but nothing will be mentioned. You can directly have a B1 or B2 depending on how much you have scored above 90. So from 112 onwards up to 180, you get a B2 score, B2 classification on the CEFR. And then comes finally the N1. N1, you have to score at least 100 to pass JLPT, and from 100 to 141 you get B2, and from 142 to 180 you get C1. So this is how this is given. Now we come back to that previous question, like where is C2? Because we know that there is a C2 category as well in CEFR, but on this we do not see C2 in N1. How can it be and what is the reason? Now the reason that JLPT has officially provided is that in the JLPT N1 test, it doesn't include all the criteria that are required to get a C2 certificate. That is, the requirements of C2 is not completely assessed in JLPT N1. So let's take a look at C2, or in fact the differences between C1 and C2. Let's go to C1 first. So C1, which means JLPT score, JLPT N1 score above 141 is C1. So what does that mean? The candidate can understand a wide range of demanding longer texts and recognize implicit meaning, can express himself herself fluently and spontaneously without much obvious searching for expressions, can use language flexibly and effectively for social, academic, and professional purposes, can produce clear, well-structured, detailed text on complex subjects, showing controlled use of organizational patterns, connectors, and cohesive devices. And how does C2 differ from C1? C2 can understand with ease virtually everything heard or read. So this line is very, very important. Can understand with ease virtually everything heard or read, can summarize information from different spoken and written sources, reconstructing arguments and accounts in a coherent presentation, can express him herself spontaneously, very fluently and precisely, differentiating finer shades of meaning even in more complex situations. So after going through this, the JLPT probably they realized that even N1, even JLPT N1 does not assess all these parameters in the test. So that's why it is not possible to judge whether a person knows Japanese up to this C2 level. So that's the reason why there is no C2 marking on the JLPT scale. So in JLPT you can go from A1 till C1 only. So maybe in future they have another level like N0, probably it may not be, but then only they can include the criteria so that a C2 certification can also be given. So this is how this mapping will be done from December 2025 JLPT test onwards. And this is another interesting thing. So you can see a comparison of CEFR levels for TOEFL, IELTS, PTE Academic, and JLPT. So these three are for English proficiency tests, you know very well. So TOEFL and IELTS have been around for many years now, and the most popular ones. But nowadays PTE Academic and PTE Core have also are also becoming very popular. So this is the classification of the CEFR levels. So TOEFL, these are the levels, and JLPT, although it's written N5, N4, N3, N2, N1, but the actual ones we have seen here. So N5, it will be A1, A1 will be N5, A2 will be N4, then A2 and B1 will be N3. So A2 and B1 here, N3, here can also N3 come, here N2 can also come, and here N1 can also come. So this is overlapping. It's not a one-to-one, although it's written like this here to give a rough idea, but this is the actual one which you should refer. So to summarize now, the misunderstanding was that JLPT levels are getting replaced with CFR levels. So the replacement word is not correct. It's completely false. They are not going to change any JLPT levels. It will remain as N5, N4, N3, N2, N1. But additionally, they will show the CEFR level depending on how much you score in each of these on the report card from December 2025 onwards. So that is the only change. Otherwise, from your JLPT preparation point of view or the exam point of view, there is no change. It's only the result scorecard that will have an indication of your CEFR level. So which is a very, very good thing. So now at the global level, at the international level also, the proficiency, your Japanese proficiency can be evaluated, and like wherever you apply with this score, you like internationally, you can the other party can have your proficiency level judged. So friends, that's all I wanted to tell you in this video about the recent notification of mapping of JLPT levels with CEFR levels and inclusion of that in the report card from the December 2025 JLPT onwards. So for more information, stay tuned to this channel. If you are yet to be a subscriber, please subscribe to this channel. And if you have any doubts in this video or about the JLPT levels and CFR mapping, you can send me an email at saraljapani@gmail.com. I will be happy to clear your doubts. Thanks for watching this video. Till we meet again. Arigato gozaimasu. Mataimashou.